Hey you guys, welcome to my channel. If you are new, my name is Megan. I'm a homeschool mom of 4. I live in sort of rural Oklahoma, and we have been homeschooling now. This will be our 6th year, and we have already started our new school year. So we are already in our 2021-2022 school year. The way that we homeschool is typically 6 weeks on, 1 week off, and then we take 1 month for the summer. My kids had their 1 month summer break from mid-April to mid-May. They went to Florida, my school-age children, and they spent 5 weeks actually with my parents. They had a really great time. They went to the beach. My oldest got scuba certified. They went to Disney. They went to SeaWorld. They went to stay in different hotels. My parents' backyard is the beach. They had a great time. So that's how kind of we got here, and we're starting our school year. We kind of were at a point in the year where we had done our amount of days that we needed to do, and we weren't going to take a spring break. We didn't take a fall break, and we didn't take a super long Christmas break. And I was like, well, why not? We're pretty much finished up. So what I'm going to show you today is our materials and projects for our first 8 lessons in our botany unit study. Now, I'm going to break up our botany unit study into sections because each sort of lesson focuses on a different area. And I think it'll be easier to do it this way, because that way, if you want to do a little bit of a mini unit on ferns, or a mini unit on trees, or a mini unit on farming, which we're going to do toward the end of our botany unit study, you'll have very specific information and the videos will be a lot shorter. So for the first 8 days of our botany unit study, we studied fungi. Now, mushrooms are not plants. However, fungi, lichen, and mosses, which we're actually going to get into lichen and mosses more later on, but the fungi are not, lichen are fungi and algae together. Okay, fungi are not plants, okay, but they are a large part of plant life and tree life, and I thought it was a perfect addition to our unit, and I thought it would be a really good place to start. So without further ado, let's get started, okay? So like I said, I'm a homeschool mom of 4. 2 of them are school-aged and homeschooled. One of them is 1.5. He's a toddler. He's more of like a distraction, but he is present for our lessons. And he is wandering around where we do our lessons. And then my daughter is 5, and she participates in any capacity she's willing to. Right now, we're not heavy with, I don't like to use the word formal schooling, because it's all formal, like it's all schooling. Everything she's doing is formal. She's learning, but I don't force her to sit down for long periods of time with anything super structured. I kind of made the decision back when when my 9-year-old was a little child, he's still a little child, but much younger, that I would do delayed academics as much as I could with any future children. And I hate delayed academics because it's like they're still learning, right? Even when you delay the structured sit down curriculum schooling. And also in our state, we're not required to start schooling until age 6. So I don't need to, and there's no reason to add in the extra work for myself. So she participates in whatever capacity she can. I do print out a lot of little things for her. Do-a-dot markers are a big thing for her. She loves them. I do a lot of little things. Teachers Pay Teachers is a great resource for any kind of themed preschool worksheet you're really looking for. You'll be able to find it more than likely there. And then sometimes I use Procreate and GoodNotes to make my own little worksheets, but it's not super often, if I'm being honest. I also like to do sensory things with her. So what you're seeing here is mainly for my 9 and 12-year-old. And I would say that pretty much, for the most part, my botany unit study would be like a grades 3 to 7, 3 to 8 range. Anything older than that, you're gonna kind of need to supplement with more. Anything younger, you're gonna need to really replace the books with some other books. Okay, so let's get into the books. So this was 8 days long. You could definitely stretch it further. So if you wanted to do a little mushroom mini unit, you could definitely do this for 2 weeks. And I will say that there were some things that we started this week in preparation for other parts of our unit study. Like we started some seeds, we started a compost. Actually, that falls in line with fungus. So I will actually probably insert a picture of that, or I'll just tell you about it. So let me start with the books. So the books that we used over the past 8 days were Nature Anatomy. This is a really popular book with homeschooling, for sure. But specifically, there are a few pages in here that we used that were about, where are they? Here we go. This was a spread we used. I actually had my kids draw an anatomy of a mushroom and draw the mushroom life cycle, which I'll show you soon. I actually used this book, or you can't see it, to copy this on the wall, but it's like this part of the wall, so you can't see it. By the way, that is a chalk wall behind me, and on it I used Chalkola chalk markers in order to draw the unit themed pictures and stuff. So lots of really good pictures in here, with a little bit of information as well. And so we did use Nature Anatomy by Julia Rothman. You can find this on Amazon really easily. This one we really liked. It was Plants That Never Ever Bloom by Ruth Heller. It doesn't look like much by the cover, but I really liked the illustrations, and so did my kids. Really, really pretty illustrations, very, very little reading to do. And Dorothy, like, this is enough to keep Dorothy's attention. So I really liked this book a lot. I mean, really, really beautiful pictures, and it does get into seaweed, kelp, and lichen, and moss, and ferns, and also a little bit of trees in the back. So, which is great because we're going to be talking about all of those things in future weeks. I also read a couple pages out of The Amateur Naturalist by Gerald Durrell. I went through, and what I do when I'm planning, guys, is any book like this, I just go straight to the index. I look up what we're studying that week or what I know we're going to talk about, and I just mark the page, and I know to go and take a look at that page for that day. This is another popular book in homeschooling. These Welcome to the Museum books are super popular, and I understand why. They're beautiful books. I know a lot of people kind of say like, oh, like the information isn't great, but I disagree. The information is really great in these. It might be a little higher than a picture book level kind of learner, like a really young child, but you can get a lot of great information out of this, and you can definitely use a lot of these as a spine of making your own curriculum. So we'll be using this during this whole unit study, but this last 8 days we used the pages on fungus, fungi, fungi, whichever way, fungi. I say fungi, but I know that it's like tomato. Some people say it differently. This turned out to be an awesome book, and so I bought this book. I didn't buy a whole lot of new material for this unit study. Actually, I didn't really buy a whole lot of new material because I kind of already had a lot of books on botany, on mushrooms, and all of that. I did spend money on like kits and getting art supplies, but we just needed art supplies for the new school year. So I grabbed this off of Amazon. It wasn't super expensive when I bought it. I haven't checked to see what the price is right now, but it wasn't super expensive. DK eyewitness books are always hit or miss for me, and I ordered this just like, oh, that'll work out great. And I thought, oh, I hope it's not laid out. It's not a DK eyewitness book on mushrooms, but I guess even that would be fine because it would be very like specific. I don't like really broad DK eyewitness books. I find that I get excited, I buy them, and then I really don't know what to do with them, but I usually buy them used, so it's fine. But this is DK Mushrooms, How to Identify and Gather Wild Mushrooms and Other Fungi. And you guys, what was really, really cool about this is it was amazing. We jumped into this unit study, and it was like all of a sudden there were mushrooms everywhere in our yard. Like we just kept finding different mushrooms all over the yard, by the trees, in the front yard, in the backyard. We have 2.5-ish acres, and we have goats at the way back of our property, and we would be back there, feeding the goats or whatever, and we'd be like, oh my God, it's a mushroom. And it became really cool when we grabbed it. We actually did a couple of these spore prints, but these are the two that I laminated. We found an absolutely huge mushroom in our strawberry patch. And so we made a spore print. I know there's a glare. We made a spore print of it. And then we found another mushroom and we made a spore print of it. You can see we did it a couple times. This was the first one that we did because, you know, there's a lot of spores there. And then I just laminated these so that we could keep them. But what we did when we would find these mushrooms is we would open this book and go through. And actually we truly did read through all of this information. What is a fungus? We read all of this information, and then we got to here, okay? And this is kind of how this book will guide you through identifying mushrooms. And we were able to find mushrooms in the yard, go through and identify exactly which mushrooms those were. And that was like just so exciting for me too. Like we were all like, oh, this is the one. And it was cool to see my kids really looking at like the gills, the shape of the mushroom, like the cap, which that's not what it's called. Cap and stem is a shape. So the shape of the mushroom, because you can also have like club and cup shaped. And anyways, it was really fun to see them look at it and figure out what the shape is. Does it have gills or spores? What does the stem look like? What color spores does that mushroom produce? It was so cool to see them, really investigate and dissect actually the mushroom, because after we got the spore print, I let them dissect it. And that was so much fun. We had a really great time with it. And this book was really helpful in that, and it was very easy to follow. Something else really cool about this book is that you can go through and it'll tell you, oh, that mushroom's poisonous, that mushroom is not really edible, it's not desirable, or that mushroom is edible. It really is a great resource. Now, we didn't eat any of the mushrooms that we found in the wild, although I was pretty confident in most of the identifying of them. We pretty much nailed identifying the mushrooms we found. We had learned that a lot of mushrooms that aren't just like in the, like truly the wild, like an untouched forest, you never know what pollutants that they have absorbed through the soil or the air and all of that. So I thought better safe than sorry. I wish we had, in a perfect world, I would have found someone who was like an expert or knew what they were doing to guide us through hunting down wild mushrooms. But it's not a perfect world, and I didn't do that. And but that would have been really cool. If you know somebody, maybe you have a friend or a family member that knows a lot about mushrooms, that would be really cool. So I really, really like this book. Highly recommend. I know it doesn't look super exciting, and I know these DK books can be hit or miss. This one was amazing. And I love the DK kids books, just to be clear. It's more of these like DK informational books that I never know if it's gonna work out with my kids or not, but this one was awesome. And then aside from just using it to identify, it was fun to just go through and look at the pictures. Something else that we also did was anytime we watched a documentary or we saw a picture of a fungi or of a mushroom or heard somebody talking about a mushroom, we would go through the index and try and find the name of that mushroom and then go see the page to see the information on it. And so that was really fun. ABCs of Nature. I've had this book a long time. I bought it used. It's a very old book, but there is a lot of good information in it. And I do like some of the pages will have like a question, that you would typically ask whenever you're learning about an item in nature. And it has like a really good little description. And so we did use a few pages in this as well. And then some of the illustrations are pretty. There are some real photos. And so we did use a few pages out of this, and we'll continue to use that through this whole unit. Okay, and then this book, which is also another Welcome to the Museum book. This is Fungarium. There is information on fungi in the Botanicum book, but this book is specifically is more specific, and it is filled with good information. We read it cover to cover, the whole entire book. I will tell you that there is, you know, if you have like, I don't know, some people are uncomfortable with this, but like it is what it is. This is a page on sexual reproduction of mushrooms, which I don't feel like is anything like weird or gross. It's mushrooms, but I know there are people that would want to know that this page says this, and you know. So there's your warning. But it is a beautiful, beautiful book. We actually used a lot of the illustrations in here as inspiration for our own drawings. The information is really fantastic. I loved it. It was information that was advanced enough for myself and my 12-year-old, but not so advanced that my 9-year-old couldn't pick anything up that I was saying. This is really good. I think you could use, this could be all the way up to an adult, but this is a book you could use through high school if your kids are going to be studying botany or fungi in high school. So this is a really, really great book. Okay, so then I want to talk to you guys about, and this is something I love to incorporate whenever possible within my homeschool, is documentaries, TV shows, movies, that kind of thing. And there was 3 days that we were able to watch, where I was able to have video entertainment that dealt with fungi. We watched, and I have my little lesson plans that I typed out, and so I'm going to refer to these so I can read it to you properly. Planet Fungi. It was, I think, $9 on Amazon, and it was probably around the same price on iTunes. That was a great one. There was beautiful time lapses of mushrooms. That was probably our favorite. Well, definitely our favorite of the 2 documentaries that we watched. That was really great. And again, I found that on Amazon and iTunes. Fantastic Fungi is also a good one, and it's on Amazon and iTunes. It's $14.99 to buy it. I can't remember how much it was to rent it because I hate renting movies. I hate renting. I would rather just own it to use. The only thing that I will say about this Fantastic Fungi that I will warn you, it is rated 13 and up. The last 20 minutes of, well, it might be more than that. A large portion of the documentary goes into using mushrooms medicinally, and also for the psychedelic, is that it? Psychedelic. Why does that sound ridiculous? You guys get what I'm saying, for those properties. And so it talks about spirit guides, which are the people that you would use if you would like to use magic. Are they called magic mushrooms? I can't remember what the guy called it. Anyways, there's a lot of talk of these spiritual experiences with using mushrooms for those purposes. So if that's something you don't want your children to be watching, then beware of that. My 9-year-old by that point wasn't really super interested in it, and he didn't really care. And my 12-year-old, we were able to have conversation about it. So it was totally fine. But that's me. So you do you. But it was a really good documentary. There were just a few little things that I was like, man, I don't love that, but whatever. The other thing that we actually watched today, and my oldest son and I have watched before, is Filthy Riches. This is another show you can find on iTunes and probably Amazon. It's a National Geographic show, so I was actually surprised it wasn't on Disney Plus whenever I checked. Maybe it will be eventually. But the show Filthy Riches, episodes 2, 3, and 4 of season 1 show a couple that hunts for mushrooms and then sells them at farmers markets and sells them to chefs and stuff like that. And we watched those episodes, and we really did enjoy those. It's cool to see people hunting mushrooms. We learned they were getting chicken of the woods and hen of the woods, and we had read about those and we had seen pictures of those in other books, and so that was a lot of fun for us. Let me get into some of the artwork that we did, and then I'll talk about the activities. So I already showed you guys the spore prints that we did. Those were a lot of fun. Sorry, guys. I have my oldest helping me with my youngest, and my youngest is full of energy today. So we did those spore prints, and then we kind of we typically do these with every science unit, and we've done them with some history units, but we always will do like little trivia cards. This time we did them a little different. We didn't do them quite like the Professor Noggins trivia cards. What we did instead was we just drew, we drew with alcohol markers. We have Copics, Cali Arts, and Ohuhu brush, and also bullet nib markers. And my oldest like loves them. He has like discovered a love for these markers. And so I had initially planned to pull out watercolor, and I was like, okay, well, rather than like, oh, we're going to use watercolor because that's what's cute on Instagram and what I love seeing other people use. And I was like, well, my son doesn't really want to do it. Neither of them wanted to. I was like, we're just going to use the markers. Like, these are so fun. So we just did the markers, and rather than be like muted colors and like very Charlotte Mason or like nature, school styled, we made them bright because a lot of the mushrooms are really bright and colorful. And so we had a really good time with it. But what we did was we picked some that we wanted to draw. And then this is one of the ones that I did. And then we wrote the name of the fungi on the back, or the mushroom or whatever it was on the back. And then we just did a little snippet of information about it. And we got this snippet of information from either this book or the Nature Anatomy book. We just used the little snippet of information underneath the picture to write on the back, and kind of use these as like flashcards or like kind of like identifying cards. So that's what we did. So this is an ink cap, a violet court, fly agaric, which is like a pretty popular mushroom in like fairy tales and stuff, but it's actually poisonous. Both of my boys did that one and that one. They both wanted to, and I was like, okay. So honey mushrooms, red marasmius, and we just wrote some information. I think I'm going to laminate these. That's what I usually do with our trivia cards. So these were really, really a lot of fun. We could do these while we were watching a documentary or whatever. So that was great. And then I'm going to show you some more assigned artwork, and then I'll show you some that they just kind of did on their own. This is where we did our life cycle of a mushroom and anatomy of a mushroom artwork. This is my 9-year-old's. And then this one is my other son's. He did his on 2 separate. I don't really remember why. So those were the kind of like the assigned artwork that we did. And then my kids were just like so inspired by all the pictures of the mushrooms in the books and stuff. And so they started drawing. This is my 9-year-old's. I think this is my 9-year-old too. He was like doodling while we were watching a documentary. Oh, the other thing we watched, I'm so sorry I forgot about this, was Dirty Jobs. There is an episode specifically on cultivating, like cultivating mushrooms. And while we watched that, he doodled this, and I just kept it because I thought it was really cute. And then my oldest son did quite a few. He really liked those markers, and he really liked drawing. Oops. He really liked drawing the mushrooms. So common morel mushroom. This was another one of those fly agaric mushrooms. This is a elf cup fungi, I believe. And then here's another one. So he really had a good old time with drawing those. As far as activities go, I have this Amscope box of slides, and I went through and I found there was a few that, let's see. Yes, there was a copropus mushroom, penicillium. I think there was another one. I think we looked at 3 total. Maybe not. Anyways, so we looked at the 2 fungi under the microscope. Now I was super bummed because we have like a $270 microscope, and it's a really great microscope. Well, we have not used it in probably over a year. And at some point, something happened because it's not working anymore. The light underneath it isn't working. The lenses are really foggy. So I don't know if I just need to like replace the light bulb and then get a new lens for the top. I don't know. But I was really bummed because it was like impossible to see these in it. I'm gonna look into maybe fixing it myself, or maybe it's just time to get a new one. We've had it for a few years, so maybe it's time to upgrade. I've also seen the LCD screen microscopes, and that might be something that's a good idea for us so that we're all able to see it really clearly. But let me tell you something. Do not sleep on these little handheld microscopes. I think I got these for $9 a piece on Amazon. They're the Carson brand. There might be other brands. These particular ones, I don't know how high up they magnify. Is it 120 times? No, that's not right. That's the focus. This is the zoom, I think. Anyways, they're battery operated. They have a little light in them. My kids use them all the time, just like to look at all kinds of things. But these worked really well, even for these slides. And they worked super well. We were able to take little chunks of mushroom, and you can see there's like a little bit of a space underneath or between like the surface you set this on and the lens. And we were able to take like a little chunk of mushroom that we found in the yard and put it there. So these worked out really great. And these were actually a lifesaver because we wouldn't have been able to do the activity if we didn't have these. It would have just been a no-go for it because of the super bummer situation with our microscope. But I cannot recommend the biology slides and these enough. They came in super clutch. And what we did was I said to look through the microscope and then draw what you see. So they each had a different slide, and that's what they saw. And these are actually just our old, I bought these nature journals for them when they were much younger. And we started them and then we moved, and we never really used them again. And so I was like, well, we'll just use these for this kind of thing. Because why not, right? Okay, then another activity we did, which I'm really excited, it's kind of still in progress, but it is so cool. Look at this, you guys. We grew mushrooms. Now they're still growing. They will get bigger. I think you can harvest in 10 days, and it has not been 10 days. We started this on day 2 or day 1. I think we did start this day 1, but the first day was just soaking it, and then we put it in the box, and so, I don't know, day 1, I guess, but you can harvest it in 10 days. And so in probably 2 days from now, we'll be able to cut the mushrooms, and the plan is to cook them in something. But isn't that like amazing? Now we have had one of these before, but I think it was a different mushroom variety. I believe it was the same brand. We got our last one from Home Depot, and it was like 2 or 3 years ago, I guess. Well, maybe longer than that now. And actually my husband just picked it up because he thought it looked cool, and we did it. And actually we had some mushrooms grow out of it, but they quickly got moldy. And I think I just didn't harvest them enough. Like I was just waiting for them to get bigger. This one, day 10, I'm gonna just cut them and harvest them. But I mean, that is so cool. I wish I had done like a time lapse, honestly, but what a great opportunity for my kids to see mushrooms growing, you know, really, really phenomenal. Very easy to do as well. The only annoyance is that the box does get a little bit soggy, so just be aware of that. But we also bought a see-through compost kit thing. I'll show it to you in a minute, but it's clear. There's 3 sections, and we put styrofoam in one, eggshells in one, and an avocado in another with some soil. And we're just kind of watching it decompose basically, but obviously it hasn't decomposed yet. It's only been 6 days since we did it, but that was another activity that we did. So that's it, you guys. That's what we did for our sort of fungi specific portion of our botany unit study. We did do a read aloud and we did do assigned reading during this time. And then of course we did math. We are actually going through math in the garden right now as our math curriculum. And then we're using worksheets from Teachers Pay Teachers for grammar and language arts, along with our Everything You Need to Ace Grammar in one fat notebook book. But those items are not fungi specific. They're just botany specific. So this is everything that was super specific to our lessons on fungi for this portion of our unit study. Actually tomorrow, it's Monday. So tomorrow we're gonna start lesson 2 within our botany unit study, which is going to be algae and mosses. And so you can come back in, I can't remember how many days this part was. 8 days, 9 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 days. You can come back in 8 days and, or give or take, give me some time to actually film the video and get it up. But very soon you can expect to see our materials and projects and activities that we used in order to complete lesson 2 on algae and mosses. That is it, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have really fun resources on mushrooms or fungi or anything that even deals with botany, let me know in the comments below and I will see you guys next time. Okay, you guys, so really quick, I want to show you these things. I forgot them whenever I was filming the video, but I have this Botany Maine lesson block curriculum from Live Education. I've actually had this for a couple years, and I did go ahead and on one day, I did use, well, if I can find it, yes, here. I did utilize the introducing mushrooms and fungi lesson. We used this, we did not bake bread, but I happened to have like a big loaf of bread in the freezer that needed to be used up. So we did talk about yeast and the importance of fungi in bread making, wine making, beer, penicillin. So we did talk about that, and I used this to kind of guide me. This is not something that you teach or read to your kids. Really, it's something that you read and then teach them. Some of it I just go ahead and read them, but so we did utilize this. And then for the writing and dictation exercise, I had my kids copy this and just write it. And then I asked them to do this. They didn't love the idea of it though. But what we used for this, you would normally use, if you were doing like fully Waldorf, you would use a Maine lesson book. But because we have so many pieces of artwork on watercolor paper, and I knew I wanted to do like markers and watercolor, I didn't want to use a Maine lesson book because the paper is a lot thinner in a Maine lesson book. But what I did go ahead and purchase for this school year, and we will use this for, you know, multiple science units, are these science notebooks. These are something that Megan Van Sype, you can find her at School Nest on Instagram, or Our School Nest. I might be getting that wrong. She has a website. I think it's The School Nest is the website. Yes, The School Nest or School Nest on Instagram. She has a website where she shows, she sells these. They're sold through Amazon though, so her links will take you to Amazon. We have purchased a number of these books though for this year, and I purchased her homeschool lesson planner, even though I kind of already been doing bullet journal lesson planning. But I was like, you know what? I want to support another homeschool mom, and I want to check this lesson planner out. So we use these when we do our day where we do our writing or dictation, and our little picture that is from our Live Education curriculum. I wish I had found these sooner because these would have been great years ago when we were doing stuff. But this is the science notebook. She has a math, a spelling, history timeline, and we have, I think, all of them except for the project planner and then the grade level notebooks. We did not start this yet. I haven't decided when I want to start this. I might start it January 1st. We'll see. But we've done this before. We actually purchased her PDF for just this temperature tracker the year before last and loved it. It's got the scientific method in the front of the book, and then you have these pages that are a dot grid on one side, and then it is space for a drawing and then lines on the other. I had my kids just, like I said, they copied this for their writing. they don't love dictation, and I honestly hate doing dictation with them as well. I just don't like the whole, like, reading it out loud. And some people will tell you, like, oh, there's rules, like, you can't repeat yourself. It's just, you just read it one time. It's supposed to teach them how to, like, do note taking. I just don't love it. I know that some people argue, like, oh, it'll be great for them when they're in college and they're note taking, but, like, it's 2021. People record, their professor now, or, you know what I mean? I don't know. I just feel like it's not worth the headache when we all dislike the dictation thing. So anyways, I just bought each of my boys one of these. I actually bought a third one thinking like I would do it with them, but I think I'll just give it to my daughter. I will probably utilize the history timeline one. So we had some stickers and some doodling on this day, but this is another kind of like assignment that I had them do. That's more of like a tangible thing that I can keep in our records, and I intend to like keep this science notebook for the year as their 2021 science work to show what they studied. So this I forgot to show whenever I initially filmed the video, but I'll just insert it somewhere so that you guys can see it. You cannot buy from Live Education just this. It comes in a curriculum for the 5th year. However, you don't need it. You can totally come up with your own thing for them to write and to draw. I bought the 5th year, and we've been going through a lot of the Maine lessons, and I really just loved, I thought that the 5th year botany Maine lesson block was so beautiful that that's why and I have it, so we're using it. But you don't have to, and you can do very similar things with your notebook.